Hello, class. My name is Horatio Urieta, and this is my speech. According to the Institute for Family Studies, young men who did not grow up with their fathers in the home are twice as likely as those raised with their biological father to have spent time in jail by age 30. I'm sure many people have heard this message in one form or another. It is almost a common thing when we hear about absent fathers and how young men go through hard obstacles because they didn't have a solid role model to guide them in the right direction. This is a very personal issue for me, and I'm sure many people here can relate in some way. I don't use the cards I was dealt with to make excuses, but I do see how my upbringing shaped me into the person I am today. My father was around for parts of my childhood, but he brought a lot of terror into our home. I grew up watching him beat my mom multiple times, and that alone gave me every reason to hate him. He was also a drug dealer. I remember seeing bricks of cocaine and crystal meth laid out on a TV tray. Sometimes he would even have us cut pieces of plastic so that we can package them or so that he can package them into little baggies and sell them. That was my normal. I remember one time I was about 3 years old. He was beating my mom up, and I stood up, my fist in the air, and told them to fight me instead. I was just a little kid, but I knew then what he was doing was wrong. As I got older, that pain turned into anger. I was always fighting as a kid. I carried a lot of hate in my heart. I used to say, I can't wait until he gets out of prison so I can fight him. That's the kind of mindset that I had growing up. And I know I'm not the only one. Growing up without a father or with the wrong kind of father can create a tough hearted person. But something I've learned over time is that there's usually more to the story. My dad went through things that most people can't even imagine. When he was 7 years old, he saw his own father get killed, stabbed to death, and by his uncles, and he watched him bleed out. At the same time, his grandma made him believe that his mother had abandoned him. My dad grew up thinking that the two most important people in his life were gone, one taken violently, and the other in his mind choosing to leave him. Is That kind of pain and confusion at such a young age can shape a person to can shape a person in ways that are hard to undo. Now, is that an excuse for the way he treated my mom? No, but it helps explain the man he became. My dad was killed in November 2018. We believe it had to do with the life he was still living, because up until the end, he was still a drug dealer. But before he died, something important happened in both of our lives. I managed to forgive him, and that wasn't easy. For years, I felt easier to hate him. I felt justified, but holding on to that anger was only making me worse. What changed for me was meeting someone whose father had already passed away. They made me ask a simple question. What would you say about your father if he wasn't around? Uh, and that question stayed with me. It hit me hard because deep down I knew I didn't want my last words to be filled with hate. So after years of not wanting to see him, I finally met up with him again. My sister even recorded that moment. It was an emotional moment for both of us. That was the moment I chose to forgive him. And through that forgiveness, I saw something change in him too. He asked his mother for forgiveness after years of believing she had abandoned him. When he met up with her for the first time, he would always mistreat her and just talk a lot of smack. And so he asked for her forgiveness. He asked my mother for forgiveness, which was great. And most importantly, he asked God for forgiveness. Even though he didn't completely change his life, he found some peace in his heart before the end. And because I forgave him, I found peace too. Growing up the way I did could have easily taken me down a different path. And for a while, I was heading that way. But at some point, we all have a choice. We can let our past define us, or we can learn from it and become something better. I chose not to use my past as an excuse, but as motivation. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about where you come from, it's about who you choose to become. Thank you.